When the trade war started in 2018, Apple had a plan. Actually, every tech company had the same plan: get out of China. They called it supply chain diversification. The media called it friendshoring. In 2024, Apple still made 90% of iPhones in China. By late 2025, that number dropped to around 78%. Where did production go? India. Apple invested heavily in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Foxconn and Pegatron set up massive facilities. Production hit $22 billion in output for 2025, making India the second largest iPhone manufacturer in the world. Success story, right? Except India still imports rare earth magnets from China. The displays? Chinese supply chain. The processors get packaged in China. The advanced testing equipment? You guessed it, China. Apple moved the assembly, but the ecosystem? Still orbiting around Beijing. Vietnam became what analysts call a connector economy. Components manufactured in China get assembled in Vietnam, then exported to America. Technically made in Vietnam on the label, but peek under the hood and it's Chinese components all the way down. Mexico, close proximity to the U.S. NAFTA benefits, shorter shipping times. But again, where do the components originate? Here's what everyone missed. You can move the assembly in 18 months, but you can't move the ecosystem in 18 years. Maybe not ever. And then, just when companies thought they were making progress. October 9th, 2025. China makes a move that changed the game entirely. China announces export restrictions on 5 additional rare earth elements. Not just the materials, the processing equipment and technology too. Effective November 8th. Remember how I mentioned earlier that China's rare earth magnet exports dropped 74% in May 2025? That was from early restrictions in April. This October announcement? This was different. This was China saying, you want to decouple? Fine, but you'll never escape us. The rare earth stocks went ballistic. MP materials, up 36%. Leanest rare earths, up 28%. Energy fuels, surging. Why? Because the market suddenly realized China doesn't just control the supply. China controls the knowledge to process it. The message was crystal clear. You can't escape China. Because China doesn't just make your products. China controls the materials and the machines that process them. By late October 2025, panic set in. Tech companies were staring down a nightmare scenario. Option 1. Pay China's prices and accept their political leverage. Option 2. Build processing capacity from scratch. A 10-year, multi-billion-dollar gamble. Option 3. Watch your products become unaffordable luxuries. Something had to give. And on November 1st, 2025, it did. Seoul, South Korea. November 1st, 2025. President Trump and President Xi meet on the sidelines of a G20 economic forum, what the media would later call the Seoul Truce. After months of economic warfare that was pushing both economies toward recession, they reached a deal. The terms: China suspends the October 9th rare earth export controls. The U.S. lowers fentanyl-related tariffs by 10%. Both sides pause escalations for 1 year, through November 2026. Sounds like good news, right? Crisis averted. Trade war over. Prices stay stable. Except there's one word in that agreement that should terrify you. Pause. Not end. Not resolve. Pause. For 1 year. This isn't peace. It's a ceasefire. A fragile 12-month timeout in an economic war that's reshaped the entire global economy. And here's the kicker. The truce doesn't fix anything. It just delays the reckoning. But America wasn't sitting idle. Enter MP Materials, the only fully integrated rare earth producer in the United States. July 15th, 2025. Apple announces a $500 million, 4-year deal with MP Materials. The goal? Rare earth magnets, manufactured in Fort Worth, Texas. And unlike previous attempts, this one's actually working. MP's Fort Worth facility is now finishing magnets domestically, not just mining raw or actually producing finished magnets that go into iPhones, MacBooks, AirPods. Finally, American rare earth independence. Apple saved. America's back in the game. Except, there's always an except. Those magnets MP produces, they use light rare earths like neodymium and praseodymium. And yes, MP can mine and process those in California and Texas. But the heavy rare earths, dysprosium, terbium, the elements that make those magnets work in extreme conditions, the processing technology for those, we're still years away from full independence. So while we've reduced dependence, we haven't eliminated it. Not yet. Maybe not by 2026. Maybe not by 2030. The U.S. signed an $8.5 billion deal with Australia on October 20th, 2025. Australia has the mines. America has the demand. Together, they're trying to rebuild what China built over 30 years. In 5 to 10 years. And that's the optimistic timeline. If everything goes perfectly, if China doesn't retaliate, if the Seoul truce holds through 2026. Big ifs. So let's bring this back to you. Your iPhone, your wallet, December 2025. Right now, iPhone 16 Pro Max, $1,199. Manufacturing cost, $485. Apple's gross margin, 60%. Thanks to the Seoul truce, that price will probably stay stable through 2026. You might see iPhone 17 launch at $1,299. Inflation adjustment, new features. Totally normal. But here's what happens when November 2026 arrives and that truce expires. Scenario 1. The truce hold negotiations continue. Rare earth exports resume. Prices stay manageable. iPhone 18 costs $1,399 in 2027. Life goes on. Scenario 2. The truce breaks. China reinstates export restrictions. Tariffs snap back to 104% or higher. Apple absorbs some costs, but passes most to consumers. Bank of America's projection. iPhone prices hit $2,300. Maybe $2,500. For the same phone you're using right now. Scenario 3. Full decoupling. The U.S. bans Chinese components entirely. Forces full domestic production. Labor costs jump from $40 to $200 per device. Advanced component costs triple because we're building manufacturing from scratch. That made in USA iPhone? $3,500. $3,500. Would you pay that? Comment below. Because this isn't science fiction. These are real projections from actual analysts. And here's what keeps me up at night. It's not just iPhones. Your laptop, rare earths. Your electric car, 26 pounds of rare earths per vehicle. Your washing machine, neodymium magnets. Your headphones, rare earth speakers. Your refrigerator, compressor magnets. Your wind turbines, over 600 pounds of rare earths each. The trade war didn't just break Apple's supply chain. It broke the supply chain for modern civilization. And we're all living in the 12-month grace period before the bill comes due. China supplies 90% of processed rare earths, 92% of rare earth magnets. They've known this leverage for a decade. We're only just waking up to it now. And here's the terrifying part. Global rare earth demand is growing 6 to 8% every year. More EVs, more wind turbines, more electronics. The world needs more rare earths every year. But if supply gets restricted again, if that truce breaks, we're not ready. So why does your iPhone cost $1,200? Because it's not just a phone. It's the end product of the most complex, fragile supply chain ever created. Australian minerals, Chinese processing, global assembly, American design. And when politicians tried to fix trade with tariffs, they didn't rebuild the supply chain. They exposed just how vulnerable it always was. Right now, we have a ceasefire. The November 1st Seoul truce bought us 12 months. Prices stay stable. Your next iPhone won't cost $2,300 yet, but this isn't peace. It's a pause. And when November 2026 rolls around, we're back at the negotiating table with the same leverage imbalance, the same dependencies, the same impossible choice. Accept Chinese dominance and keep prices low. Or pay the price, literally, for independence. Could we rebuild American manufacturing? Absolutely. Should we reduce dependence on any single country? Probably smart, but it won't happen overnight, and it won't happen without cost. The $8.5 billion Australia deal. Apple's $500 million rare earth investment. These are down payments on a solution that might take 10 years to build. Your iPhone might stay $1,200 through 2026. But after that, $2,300. Maybe $3,500. That's not Apple's greed. That's the price of economic sovereignty. The next time you buy an iPhone, you're not just buying a phone. You're buying a piece of global geopolitics wrapped in aluminum and glass. And the price tag? That's the cost of the supply chain we try to break and might still destroy. We have 11 months. The clock is ticking. So here's my question for you. Does the Seoul truce hold through 2026? Or are we heading toward that $3,500 iPhone reality? Drop your prediction in the comments. And more importantly, would you pay $3,500 for a made-in-USA iPhone? Or is Chinese supply chain dominance a necessary evil we have to accept? Vote in the poll. Truce holds or breaks? I want to see where you think this is heading. If this changed how you see your iPhone and everything else you own, hit subscribe. Because when November 2026 arrives, I'll be covering exactly what happens when the ceasefire ends. And if you want to understand how this affects electric cars, laptops, and even your kitchen appliances, check out these videos. The rare earth wars are just getting started. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. And remember, the clock is ticking.